Welcome to the Pathways to Prosperity podcast, where we explore personal, professional, and financial success stories of top achievers. Let's dive in.
Welcome to Pathways to Prosperity. I'm your host, Terrence Shabillion, and today we're joined by Law Smith, president of Tocabaga, a top-tier marketing agency and strategic advisory firm based in Tampa. With a stellar track record, including advising over 1,000 businesses and delivering a 7.8 times average return on investment, Law combines entrepreneurial expertise with the sharp wit of a seasoned stand-up comedian. Tune in as we explore how Law bridges comedy and business, driving success through adaptability, communication, and creativity. Let's dive into this inspiring journey. How's it going today, Law?
It's pretty good. I hope the construction outside my home is not making a lot of noise right now. But if it's not picking up on your end,
so that's actually pretty good.
Hey, it's
your mic's working.
It's December in Tampa, and that's kind of the best time of year for us. You're Florida, right? You're in Tampa?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah. So you can't complain with 78 degrees on a December day.
Yes. So I'm bi-coastal, so I'm technically in Phoenix right now, but we live in Tampa area full time. So, yeah.
Two retirement states. You're nailing it.
Yes. Yeah. I move from warm to warm. I don't go north in the wintertime. So,
right. It's good for the joints.
Yes. Yep. So, hey, Lo, can you give me a quick snapshot of your business right now? What you do, what your company does?
Yeah, so I have the day career, which is I'm president of Tocabaga. We're it started out as a marketing agency only because that was kind of my, I was doing stand-up at night as my night career, as I kind of call it. And then, you don't make a lot of money doing that until you really do. And so I started Tocabaga because I had these skills in digital marketing. But my background education-wise was in business planning. So I kind of combined the two ideas because I realized a lot of clients I was getting do not have basic goals set out, like revenue goals, like simple stuff. They've never, like 99% of them don't have a business plan or even an outline. So my background was in business planning, writing, and at Auburn undergrad and graduate school. And so I kind of applied that general business advisory strategy towards digital marketing because it's an ever-changing landscape. And I've become kind of everyone's business therapist, as my friend Nate Seinel, who owns Scout IT, likes to call me, because what happens is I used to keep these worlds separate because I wanted people to know I know what I'm doing with your business. I don't want them to think I'm just like a dick joke comic and just going to be slappy and silly all the time. I would preface intro meetings and go, whoever your favorite comic is, I'm probably not like them. That's just an odds game, really. And I would probably put it out there. But what would happen is when I started telling people I do stand up at night, because I'll go, well, I might use some different kind of metaphors. It might be a little left to center, but I'll weave in between professional and casual the same kind of sentence sometimes, but I'm just trying to find a through line like I would with an audience. And so once I started doing that, people immediately opened up, hey, we don't have a business plan. We don't know what we're doing. And then that was it would kind of take that vulnerability that was happening before that they wouldn't show, and it would knock out about 3 important conversations and save us a lot of time. Because look, I'm working with small, medium businesses, and owning your own business is very personal, especially if you're the founder. And so a lot of people don't want to really open the books up a lot of the time right away. And it's like, well, you don't have to tell me your whole life story, but you can give me some revenue numbers and what's the employee count? What are y'all planning on doing? Do you have a new product or service coming down the line, kind of thing? What are your ideas of expansion look like? And then I would get on my whiteboard like John Gruden, putting up an overly elaborate Tampa Bay football play, and with 4 motions and 5 tight ends somehow. And I would draw out what their plan is. I got really good at doing a cocktail napkin strategy on the fly because I had a kind of a bug up my ass that everybody knew me in Tampa Bay area as a comic only because I'd been doing it, since I was 21, 22. And they didn't know I had this other mode, this real work ethic during the day. And I would reverse engineer someone's goals. I go, okay, let's go 5 years from now. What do you got? And then I move us back to 3, 1. All right, the rest of this year. And we would reverse engineer the benchmarks to kind of hit. And while marketing is only a small piece of that, it does have a seat at the table now. Whereas it was kind of not, it was combined with sales all the time, and it's not the same thing. They have to work together, those departments, but it's not,
Yes.
It wasn't really respected till, I would say, maybe in the COVID era really got, when we had the lockdown, people started realizing, marketing's very important.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be the first thing to get cut in a lot of budgets for some reason.
Yep. Nope. I own a bunch of different businesses, and it's one of the things I always tell people is, we need to be open books with each other if we're going to work together. If you want to hide and, then we're probably not the people to help you. I can't see what your weaknesses are. I can't counter those. We can't adapt to those things without knowing what they are, and I build our sales teams and I still don't do our marketing. So definitely understand that side of it and the importance of both of them being separate entities unto themselves.
Hey, but you know what you don't know or don't want to do.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't know that. It's an ego thing. They think they've got to have their hands on everything, and they don't.
Yes.
And the tricky part about being an entrepreneur is, here's the dirty secret about it. And I love throwing this out there. If anybody, it is one of those things that you truly have to do to really understand the psychology of it. Like people would be like, you don't get it. You don't have kids. I was like, I think I got it. I think I know. I got an idea. But like skydiving, I think I got an idea. I don't want to do it. But entrepreneurship's a different game. It's like golf. The game's between your ears. And a lot of the time, even if you have your kind of partner, spouse, whatever, as the mom and pop of this mom and pop operation, you're still dividing and conquering. You may not even, your ship's in the night. So on the dirty secret is entrepreneurship it feels like you're in the Gulf of Mexico, a little bit off the shore. You can see the shore, but you just ran out of gas. And now it can feel like isolating like that a lot of the time. And if you don't take, the unanalyzed life is not worth living kind of thing, because it's my boy Socrates. If you watch Bill and Ted, Socrates. If you don't, I'm guilty of this too. You can be so busy that you got to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the end of the day or the next morning or something and go, what was the wins? What was the losses? Most people don't calibrate like that. And I'm saying this out loud to you to remind myself to get back on doing it.
Yes. Yeah. So I tell people all the time when I'm working with them, I'm not just telling you this for you. It helps me to remind me the things that I have to do. So it's one of the things I love about teaching and helping people is being able to recenter myself on my own thing. So there's a lot of competition in your space, Law. What sets you apart? You've kind of answered a little bit of that. And what comes easy to you that others find challenging?
Well, so I hate most of marketing. I hate mostly because of the marketers. I think marketing agencies, a lot of them are, the agency model's really broken. But here's the reason why. There's so many specialties. Everything is getting so segmented that it's really hard to find that employee full-time to scale your agency. And I'll bring this back to why it's important for people that are trying to hire an agency. But basically it's, like TikTok alone, right? You need a presence over there, organic or paid. Right there, that's a big division. And then after that, it's like, if it's the lifestyle brand, not every lifestyle brand specialist can do something for B2B, right? Not every, or personal brand or celebrity brand. There are all these, if you put a decision tree on a whiteboard, it would sprawl out like a crazy broken glass of just endpoints, right? the reason that's important for anybody that's looking to hire an agency is because you might not be getting the best output from a bloated agency model, and if it's a big agency, you might be too small for them to care. Like, here's one thing I never do. And the short answer is I'd want to be as the most honest marketing agency I can be, as transparent as possible. I don't put if we make your website, we don't put our name at the bottom of it. I hate that. I really despise that. Why has that become a thing? Just commonplace for 25 years. If you do advertising through us, we don't charge a percentage on top of the ad sales or the ad spend, excuse me. I think that's wild to go because the work isn't that much different, but the owner of the business, the client doesn't know that.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's it's been a practice forever. And you thinking we're getting more transparent with some of this stuff just over time, technology wise. It's gotten more muddled. People charge 15-20% on top of the ad spend, and the work isn't that much different. Depending on your budget. Now, if you go from 500,000, it might be a lot more work. But if we're talking 5,000 to 50,000, probably not that much difference in the actual labor. And I could have made a lot more money by now, by being a better salesman. Agencies are very good at selling you what you want to hear. I'm really bad at that because I'm too honest. I couldn't sleep at night if I was just trying to sell and churn you, right? I have an empathy, good or bad, that this is their business, which is probably their life, their whole life. And not just their life, their family's life, the employees they have, right? And if we're not doing this with some kind of integrity, like, I don't know what you believe in the afterlife, but it's like, I wouldn't want my kids to find out later that I was a scummy salesman that ripped people off posing as a marketing guru. My kids become adults and you're like, your dad ripped me off for $50,000. And like, I never want that conversation to happen. I don't know if it's a weird way to kind of look at it, but told you, I'm a little left of center. So, I like us. I get a real, we talk about being happy in a profession, and I think that's a fruitless, I think that's a fool's errand, right? What about being content? What makes you satisfied, right? And I love being a part of the story that most people come to us ripped off by another company, another marketing company. Hey, we paid these guys that didn't do any work. We call ourselves the ex-boyfriend rebound agency because we're taking broken people that don't, now they have trust issues. And we got to tell them we don't have a wandering eye. We're not going to cheat on you. Don't worry. And so it's like, it's one of those things where I love being able to go, hey, when we talked 6 months ago, you were here and you still think a lot of this marketing stuff is either fake or magic or whatever, not real work, or I'm kicking it out to the Philippines or India or something. And that's not how we roll. I have a Rolodex of subcontractors I've been pulling in for 10 years because of all those specialties, and because I want the best people that I'm subbing out for the client. I don't want to have to jam someone that's not right for them. So, I love being able to go, you were here 6 months ago, and now we're part of that hamburger helper that got you to here, to hit your goal. And that's satisfying, right? That's something I can kick my heels up and go, okay, that I did the job that no one does, really, or says they're going to do.
Well, that's definitely one of the things that I found with marketing companies is everybody promises the world. And like you said, it's kind of a churn and burn business instead of a relationship business. So it's refreshing to hear people that are focused more on that relationship business instead of how much money can I get out of you before I go to the next one.
Well, here's another thing. I'm a stand-up comic. You can find me. I can't hide behind the keyboard like they can. I'm public. So it's like, I'm not famous, but I'm public. Like you can easily find me out doing a show. So it's like, if you had to go mafia on me, this is what I tell clients that are prospects. I go, look, I'm out as many nights as I could get on stage because I just did an hour, or I just did a special. Should be coming out December. What's today? And it should be the 16th. I shot my first special, paid for it, and produced it and all that stuff. I'm out there working on new material. You can find me. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, that's the hard thing I'd say about most of these companies too, is that most of them are online, and you don't know who you're dealing with. So that makes it tough.
I've flown out just to meet people, and if they've never met me, they're a referral, or they came through our website to contact me, and they don't know me from anybody, and they just got cheated on by their last marketing agency. I'm like, look, I'll fly out to Idaho if you want. If you want to meet me in person, that's fine. You can put me on a lie detector test. It's easy. I'm not a good liar, and it's easy to not lie when you're bad at it. So, I for better or worse, I've been told this is a strength and a weakness I have, because I'll have truthful Tourette's in inappropriate times.
Yes, I run the same challenge of my business. I refuse to add fluff and make it sound like it's going to be so easy, and everything is perfect. And a lot of times I turn people off because I tell them how hard it is. But I always tell them, I said, it does me no good for you to come and hang out with me for a few months and disappear. My time is important to me, as should be yours, and you should know ahead of time what you're getting into and have real expectations. So I can definitely appreciate that. If someone listening to us right now wants to get better at their marketing, maybe what are a few tips that you would give them to start off that they could implement themselves?
I've been working on this thing. I think it would be kind of rad to get a Harvard Business Review model. They had all those models when you're studying back in. Did you do business school in college or anything?
No.
But do you know what I'm talking about? Like Porter's Five Forces, those famous like models. They've been around like 50 years or whatever. I think a long-term goal would be to get I have a totem pole model. Hence the Tocabaga is the Indian tribe that was in or Native American tribe that was in Tampa Bay before everybody else got settled here. They're the reason we haven't had a direct hit, they say, with a hurricane. Although it was pretty close this year.
Yeah.
Still not a direct hit, technically. But 35 miles away, pretty close. But they say the tribe here, and our whole theme, if you go on our site, tocoba.ga, it's kind of a blend of two kind of brand worlds. It's an homage to the tribe, but also I see the metaphor of camping or hiking, like going on a long hike, right? Where you're camping, at night. And we're sitting around a campfire and we're sitting there planning our next route. What are we doing tomorrow? We're acting as a team. At some point, someone's a leader. At some point, someone's just a worker, right? Just for your campsite. That's how you have to roll. Someone has to take the lead. Someone has to get the map and compass out. Oh, check the weather, all that stuff. Do you have wet socks? We need dry socks, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I visualize it. What I would tell people is, I'd say the biggest mistake is they don't know what their business is and who they're, and really, if you want to break it down, they don't know who their customer or client actually is. And they think they do, right? But again, one of those not doing that self-assessment 5-10 minutes a day. Hey, I might not know. I think our customers, this group of people, but we just got kind of maybe early success and just got lucky with that. But we don't really know if that's our clientele. Is that our target audience at all? And you should be calibrating that, even if you're like a manufacturer where you're selling to other parts, other manufacturers, basically, you're making supplies for them, for their thing they're manufacturing or assembling. Like, and you only have like three clients. You still need to calibrate this like once a quarter and go, Do we know who it is? And then I always ask them, branding is kind of a term that gets elastic, but there's a reason it exists. Excuse me. There's a reason branding exists. The term, you need a brand identity. That's a logo. That's your color choice. That's the visuals, what kind of tone, style of the images you're using, the design, all that stuff. Most people get that because they interact with it. The messaging is the one they interact with, and it's subconscious. Who are you? What do you do? Why are you better? How do I hire you or buy from you? Why should I buy from you? Answer those like very basic questions. And you should have a callback to that, to anybody. I should wake you up in the middle of the night and ask you these questions, and you should know, no problem, military-like callback. And then if you've got it, now you need to check if your team's got it. Because that's a big failure too, right? Mm-hmm. I can't get someone at Chick-fil-A to say you're welcome. You can't do it. They won't do it. They say, my pleasure. Right? That's because they're messaging.
Yeah, I don't eat Chick-fil-A much, so I didn't know that.
Well, just do it as an experiment. Just go get nuggets for a friend or something and try to get them to say, you're welcome after it. They'll say, my pleasure. They won't do it. They're like Buckingham Palace guards. You can't shake them. And that's from a top-down internal messaging. That's a big one. So if you think about it like that, I told you I was going to give you some dumb examples in here, but that is something I find fascinating because you may not go there, but you know they run that place really well. I don't know a Chick-fil-A that's gross.
Yeah.
I know plenty of Checkers that are, but I don't know any. I still go to Checkers if I'm feeling a little slutty. I like to go Checkers and get a big Buford. But that's my biggest thing. You don't know, and this isn't people in general. Business is psychology if you really want to break it down. And it's basic psychology. It's 101 a lot of the time. What do you want to do? What are your goals? Hey, who are you, really? If you don't know, ask other people. You know, you ever asked anybody, what's your first impression of me? Mm-hmm. Man, that's a rough game to play. Mm-hmm. I've had some really wild.
To hear it.
I didn't realize how much of a resting bitch face I have on the reg. I'm like, that's just my thinking face. I just look angry. I'm not. And so I had one client, and it was like, you reminded me of my ex-boyfriend, and I hated that, so I didn't like you at first. And I was like, that shouldn't count, but I guess it does. Yeah. I would throw that out of the study, but I would say as an experiment for anybody listening, go ask people, could be outside of business or inside the business world you're living in, what was your first impression of me, and see what they say. Mm-hmm. And you'd be surprised the callback everybody has too. You're like, ow, what? How do you have detail for that? You can't remember really basic stuff we were talking about. It's interesting. So I think you got to know yourself before you go out and really grow. I know that's not a very pragmatic answer for you, for the listeners, but I would say if you really want the practical way to go about it, write an outline of a business plan. What are your goals? Make them SMART goals, that acronym, and use that as your template, and then reverse engineer from there.
I think you kind of touched on something with maybe not quite catching what it was of, know what you're selling, know what you're actually selling. Everybody thinks that they're selling, we own assisted living homes. Everybody thinks that we're selling, someplace to put your mom, we take care of your mom, we take care of feeding her. That's what everybody thinks we're selling. And I have to teach my guys in all my different businesses, there's different things that we're selling. But I tell them, this is what we're selling. That's what we sell. And when you understand that, then it allows us to charge twice the market rate of what everyone else is. Because we truly honed in on what we're selling. And it's not selling taking care of mom. It's not selling, the amenities, even though that's part of our process of getting them to.
Yeah.
That's what we're selling.
That's great. That's a great picture, actually.
And so, it's like you said, it's really understanding what you're selling, what people are seeing, and what they're buying. And from that avenue, I love that aspect of being able, most people don't really know what they're selling. I'm selling this widget. Well, you're not buying that widget. You're buying what that widget does. And so
Right.
you really learn that, and I think that's a big help in marketing too. Like you said, it's from the top down. I teach people not to work in their business, so they shouldn't. They shouldn't be asking what you thought of me, but the people that are working in their business should definitely be from that avenue. But yeah, I love that aspect of how you said, understand what you're selling, understand, what people are seeing and what they're buying. And, I think too many people nowadays miss that for sure. So,
yeah. And a lot of people can't get into other people's shoes of how they see things.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could go on men versus women on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to write a bit. Women got ahead of men on this, like a PR person, like a publicist about communication. I'm making the hot take claim that it's an unpopular opinion, but I think men are better communicators. Women just got ahead of us on this by saying we're not. Because if I'm in an argument with a woman, I'm always fighting about the thing we're talking about. I'm not talking about something I have to guess. You never have to guess what I'm feeling about some fight a week ago or something that upset me. I'm talking about, why didn't you get Jody from the airport, an hour ago? She's still there. You said you're going to pick her up.
That also goes back to that thing of understanding who your client is.
Right.
Who you're speaking to.
I'm making a flippant example.
You're right what you're saying, but you still can't win that argument if you don't know what you're arguing about. So
I didn't say I'd won. My record, but you ask my ex-wife, I'm over 10,000 still. So I'm the Cleveland Browns of our arguments. But it's one of those things. It's like, I'm not trying to. If I'm talking about some kind of issue, I'm always talking about the exact issue and not trying to think three levels. It's not Inception, where I need Leonardo DiCaprio to get in your brain and go, oh, 4 layers deep. You're upset that you said something about her mom. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, hey, Law, one of the biggest, what is maybe one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome in your career?
Personally, just consistency. I live an atypical life. I have 2 kids. I'm a divorced dad. I'm a DILF. That's right. And I, time management is key. And I used to do 100 different things life-wise, and about 6 years ago, I realized this is it. I'm not really helping the people I want to help if I'm volunteering my efforts, and I'm spinning too many plates that aren't getting it, they're breaking on the ground at the end. And it's a slow break, but it takes a while, but you don't notice it that way. That's why. So I really just sat down and went, I'm going to focus my time into like 5 or 6 things instead of 100. I started saying no to a lot of this ancillary stuff I didn't need to be doing. I did a lot of volunteer charity stuff, and, I was like, I'd rather just focus my energy towards one nonprofit or one thing instead of trying to do all these little things that I don't really think they add up to help them out. Just because I got asked and I would say yes to way too much. And I didn't, the whole scenario of, I was giving the mask to the baby on the flight next to me. When the oxygen mask went down, I was giving it to the kid next to me before myself. But you realize the metaphor works because you can't give it to the baby unless you do it to yourself. I would love to be very generous. I fantasize about like being able to do a lot more in my community and leave this community better than when I came into it. And I'm talking specifically of Tampa, the Tampa Bay area. But also the nucleus of my family, my friends. And, you can't really you can volunteer your time a lot, but really time management is key. No matter what you're doing, even if there's someone listening that wants to do their own thing, right? But they're in a career, they're going to be stuck in an office for a while. Okay, well, now I break out my time every 15 minutes every day. It's that sounds daunting. It takes 3 minutes once you get in the habit of doing it. And you realize how much you can actually get done and not get done, or how good you are at kind of managing your time. At the beginning, I was like, whoa, I leave zero room for just eating, like zero margin of error for like a lot of stuff, traffic, all that. And then you get but what happens is cool is you get really good at doubling up on things. So like, if I need to go, a lot of my time can be spent being resourceful with digital marketing. It changes all the time. You have to stay on top of new tools. AI is accelerated that. Whether these companies have AI or not, that's a different podcast episode, maybe, because I think that's the most overbranded word of 2024. But I would say, all right, I need to learn this new app over here because that's going to help. All right, I'm going to do this while I'm on the Stairmaster for an hour, right? So at least I get my work. I have to work out every day. It just keeps my brain functional. And I used to do it for vanity. Now I do it for mental and kind of energy. And I think of time as a commodity. It's a finite resource for us, and we don't even know how finite. We're only on this blue marble so long. So time management, I think, is the key to just being happy, honestly. And it feels constricting when you try to really go at it. It feels like a handcuff. Like, part of me felt romantic as a comedian. I want to do that. I want to just go in the wind, and I want whimsy. I just want to let the chips fall where they may. It's all bullshit, man. It's like, look, it's more of the other way, and it's more the Jocko Willink. Discipline's ultimate freedom. You get your homework done so you go out and play while the lights aren't on. The street lights don't come on, right? Like, let's get it done and get out. Procrastination's a big thing I had to work on. And then you have kids, and that you don't have time to even think about procrastinating. Procrastination would be a luxury.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that would be nice. I'd love to be able to sit around and kind of anxiously worry. But I got things I got to do, and I got mouths to feed, And I want my kids to see me, have a good work ethic, but not spaz out or burn out, because I was doing that when they were really young, and I'd sleep it would kill me, and I was crash for 36 hours straight because I was burning the candle too much. So it's like, okay, I got to do stand-up tonight. I'm going to do a set. I got to write 5 minutes. Well, I got to start. I never used to write anything beforehand. I kind of like to improv on stage or do crowd work. But hey, maybe I should try this writing thing because it probably goes a lot better. And then I could just mess around if I want. So I have that in my back pocket. But if I'm going to try to do some new material, all right, doing a set tonight at 8. So this morning, as I'm writing my 15 minutes on every line on a piece of paper, on my Bluetooth notebook, Bluetooth pen, because it backs everything up. I write every 15 minutes on the left-hand side, where the hole punches are and that vertical line is. And then, all right, got to create time to be able to do this. So at least spend 20 minutes here in the morning, because then I'll think about it throughout the day when I got some free thought time. And then after I come home tonight, I need to review the day and go, that seems to be optimal way for me to work. That scenario is not for everybody, doing creative like that. But it took a lot of trial and error for me to give that example just now, right? Or if I'm really on my game, I want to go on a jog, or what I've been doing because I'm a fat dad, I'm getting there, is football season. I already know I'm going to add pounds. So, I get it nice and tight for 9 months, and then football season ends. But I will write 10 problems with work or creative I need to do. And then, or jokes I need to finish, something I need to find a solution to. If I'm on my game, I'll write that out before a long jog, and I'll listen to like instrumental. I listen to movie scores because I'm a dork, but I run to the tempo like a psycho. So if you ever see me running around Tampa in a full sprint, it's because I'm listening to the Dark Knight score, or the Justice League score or something like that. And more than not, I found I'll knock out 3 out of 10 of those. Now that works for me, and I know I'm a freak in that kind of way. But finding that creative process, finding your processes, it all goes back to time management, right? Mm-hmm. And looking at it, it's not dorky and it's not gonna arrest you. It's actually gonna give you more time to go do whatever, to have that whimsy, to have that kind of freedom.
Yep. No, I love the part that you say, I was always busy and doing all the different things, and finally I learned to manage my time better and to learn that I didn't have to do everything, and to find people that could possibly even do things better than me,
Well,
and
yeah, then you
my
find
ego
out
started to get out of the way and allowed me to really, bring in a team of people to get things done, which in turn freed up and actually allowed me to do even more. So yeah, I love that, process of managing your time, and whatever ways you get there, creatively you need to manage your time differently than I do as a strictly business owner of many businesses. So I love that input and that thought process from that side.
Yeah, but you don't want to be managing day to day forever, right? So the whole idea down the line, you go, all right, I need to spend 5 minutes a day creating the playbook for scaling, that kind of stuff. It works in any facet. It's one of the, okay, I write down like my kid's got an ailment, right? Kid's got some bronchial infection or something. Okay, got to make sure to put it in the eye calendar, get them the medicine twice a day, because I'll definitely forget. I know myself that well. I have reminders all day because I also don't want to think about it. Mm-hmm. I don't want the RAM space in my brain to be taken up by stuff that could be automated, and I don't 100% rely on it, but I live and die by my iCal. And if there's stuff you want to get done that's overwhelmingly hard, like I want to hit $1 million in revenue next year. Okay, I got to sit down, work that, reverse engineer how I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to have to apply it. And I'm going to have to create time to apply that probably every workday, figure out how to wedge in at least an hour on, right?
Yep. Nope. I definitely appreciate that. I'm a live by my calendar type person myself. And so it sounds like
I work with minutes on stage, man. It's like, how much time are we doing? You need me to do 45 minutes? Okay. And it's funny. I talk to comics. I'm like, we work in minutes. You don't get this. How many hours did you spend to write the material you're going to do tonight? Okay. You got that? It's just like anything else. You're going to spend a lot of grunt time if you're starting from zero for something you want to do. Yep. But if you're late to a gig, or you're one of those constantly late people, it's one of my biggest pet peeves of all time. You know the people that are late all the time? Yep. And then they put it on you if you're ever late, like 5 minutes, and you're like, oh yeah? Well, you're not. You weren't here on time. Like, the one time. I'm talking about behavior over a long period of time. That's rude that you do that, and it's ruder that you're trying to call me out on it. The one time I'm late. Be late to a barbecue. Don't be late to a wedding or a funeral. Those are kind of the rules. Think about that.
Yeah. It sounds like things are going well for you, Law, in your business. A lot of our guests are looking towards the future and how they can create passive income or even replace their current active incomes. Do you have any thoughts about this or anything that you may do?
Don't do crypto. No, I don't know. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist guy, but I do I find crypto interesting. Just a small note on that. I find it interesting. I think Bitcoin is legit. I just don't know if you think you're going to be a day trader. That seems to be like the new Amway almost without Amway being involved. Like there's no Herbalife kind of involvement. It's just people when the money seems so easy. If you have a friend that's like, get into crypto, dude, I made so much doing this, and you're like, tell me about your losses.
Yeah.
It's like your friends that gamble in sports. You go, okay. Oh, you're up. You bet on the Rams to beat the Bills. Okay. Well, oh, you're crushing it this year. What's the total rake? What's the total? And they'll tell you, they'll give you a whole preamble, a lot of wins. And then they'll go, well, I'm like down 200,000. You're like, well, I'm not listening to you. I would say, it's either got to be a passion of yours or something you're very good at, right? I tell a lot of people I'm very proficient in marketing. That's not what satisfies me. What satisfies me is like advising the business to get there, right? That's content for me. But marketing as like the actual work, I'm good at it. I don't get up and go, yeah, I can't wait to do some Facebook ad campaigns. But the end result for me is the passion of like, I love being able to go, I'm going to grow this business like it's my own. And the satisfaction of them being excited at the end is the best. So I'd say you need to know something that's on the back of your hand. If you're good at carpentry, property management or something, that's a good passive income is having a rental, especially now if you can buy a place to rent out. I mean, Jesus, everything's tripled somehow. It's like we added 3 times more people in the last 5 years that want to buy houses, and then we don't have enough supply of houses or what. I don't know. I stick in my lane. I would say find that, but if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And again, it's going to go back to yourself. Like if you want to take the psychology test we took on our show, I have a podcast called Girthy, formerly called Sweat Equity Podcast. We just sold the trademark. For 16 grand. We didn't think anybody would buy it, but I'm just like, okay. We thought we got the trademark kind of as a joke almost because it's a comedy meets business podcast. By the way, the filthiest stuff I've ever heard in my life is not at comedy clubs. It's in like business boardrooms and stuff. And I'm like, it's too much for me. But I would say, we took this test called the Asher Strategies APQ, Advanced Placement Questionnaire, I want to say. Took it in 2017. It's 80 questions. A guy was going to be a partner in her company, in my agency, and buy the podcast. That was the deal we're working out. And I knew he made every one of his employees take this question, like this personality quiz. So he can kind of calibrate where they should be moving toward, like department wise, and give them like a professional track. Right? We took it in 2017, and the further I get away from it, the more accurate it was. And that was a real eye opener because it really, I had some kind of evidence that showed me what I had a hunch on about myself. And I knew on my admin and clerical scores were going to be dog S all over the place. What was good to see was that I have a healthy balance of ego and empathy, enough to move the ball forward, but not too much empathy where I'm getting taken advantage of in the business world. And I mean, that's a thing for sure. If you have too much ego, no empathy, you're a Fortune 500 like CEO. Usually you're a psycho. Too much empathy, no ego. You're not going to be able to have a business. You just give away your products for free everywhere. And then what it showed me was something that I needed to see was my project management score was 17 out of 100. My high score was like a 90 as like a dynamic CEO, I think they call it. And then the next one was director of operations, which was 89, and director of marketing or something was an 88, which most marketing now is operations based. So that makes sense to me. And I'm a mathlete. And so the project management score was a real eye opener. I go, I'm never going to scale unless I figure this out. And so I took that year, or I took the next, I took 2018, and I went on Wrike, WRIKE, that company. They're a project management tool. And they had such good information, but 101 about project management styles and work methodologies and like all this stuff that helped me so much with time management. So I solved the problem. I diagnosed the problem in stoicism style, went at it instead of avoiding it. And it's something I didn't do a lot in my life until then. And then I applied that the rest of the way. I would say if you're trying to make that passive income, it's got to be something that you can do without a lot of time spent or without a lot of investment, but not both, right?
Yep.
You're going to have to spend one or the other.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yep.
most people do both.
Yep. Yep.
And
Well,
I think everybody gets hung up on time. I hate to bring it back to that, but it really is the thing that's not talked about enough in time management. They want to talk about high school is not showing you how to do your personal finances. I'm like, how about arriving places 15 minutes before they start? Because if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
So no, I love the piece that you said about empathy and ego, and in one of my businesses, our assisted living business, we work with the empathy and the ego. And I kind of stand in the middle of that. Our operators, which are usually nurses and doctors, are that empathy. And if they were allowed to, they could maintain the business long term. So, and on the other side, I have the ego, which is the people that usually have the income to really, large dollar investors to really make these projects happen. And I definitely see that both sides of them, where you have to be able to balance them or have someone in the middle to balance them. So definitely appreciate that. Hey, Laura, we only have a minute or two left here, but as we're wrapping up our interview, what exciting plans or initiatives do you have in the works for the next 6 to 12 months? I imagine you kind of already mentioned it, but
I tried to slide them in there. My special, it's only a 30-minute stand-up comedy special. I'm putting it on YouTube. That's the way a lot of comics are doing it now. It's called Florida. It's a sunny state for shady people. That'll be out on December 16th, hopefully. Post-production's been a nightmare. Trying to make it as good as possible, but I'm trying to make the quality of it as best I can, even though it looks very grungy on purpose. I did it in a very, what we call a comedy trap house. So in a bungalow near Ybor City, if anybody, your listeners have been there, it's a little crusty looking, but I like it. It looks like a skateboarding hangout. And then, Tocabaga, TOCOBA.GA. Anybody can email me, LAW@TOCOBA.GA. Our podcast, Girthy, the #1 business meets comedy podcast, entrepreneurship, like real talk about business, like this conversation. It's very similar. We sometimes have guests on to ask them how they failed, which is interesting. We like to ask lightning round questions at the beginning to get to know them, like when's the first time you French kissed? So there's things like that that we just like to throw in just because it makes us laugh. We're about 500 episodes, been doing it a long time.
Wow.
Formerly Sweat Equity Podcast. And then, lawsmithworks.com. If anybody wants to reach out or find me on any of my socials, it's Law Smith Works.
Awesome. Well, if you ever need someone on about how to fail, I can definitely help with that too.
That's the thing.
Done that a lot of times.
That's the thing. Anybody that hasn't done it, the entrepreneur game, they don't know. They think
I would run from them. If somebody tells you they got a perfect record, I would run as fast as I could. And I used to be able to do that pretty fast. So
that's why.
I was going to ask you how to get it. I was going to ask you how to get in touch with you, but you already beat me to that one, Law. I appreciate you being on today, and sharing a lot of great information with us. And I look forward to getting this out and sharing it with others. Thanks again, Law.
Yeah, send it to me. I'll push it to my network of people.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Pathways to Prosperity podcast. Got a success story to share? Visit pathwaystoprosperitypodcast.com/guest and apply today.